NFL draft is now just 2 days away, and for Eagles fans, excitement is reaching new heights. But before we dive into the strangest NFL draft in history, we're prefacing it with 5 bold predictions. Before we get into them though, guys, a massive thank you for all of your support over the offseason. We are finally at melting point. The NFL draft is upon us, and we would love to invite you all to our 3-day live stream extravaganza. We will be live streaming every single round on top of the articles, on top of the videos that we'll be bringing you at phillysportsnetwork.com and right here on our YouTube channel. So we would love for you to be a part of it. Come hang out with us, grab a beer, chill out. And in a time of social distancing and self-isolation, let's all come together and welcome the newest Eagles to the nest right here on our YouTube channel during our live stream. And also, if you could subscribe if you're new around here, that would be amazing. Do not miss your chance to be part of the 20k club. We're going to make history this weekend with our live stream. Make sure you stick around. Let's kick things off with something I've been fairly vocal about over the last few days, and it's one that isn't going to sit well, so please buckle up, strap yourselves in. I need you to bear with me for this one. I don't think the Eagles are going to draft a linebacker, at least highly. They may draft one in the late rounds of developmental talent, but I don't think, if we're going bold predictions, I can't see him drafting a linebacker. I wrote an article detailing this theory in greater detail yesterday, but as time presses on, I'm only more convinced that they won't pick up a linebacker if we're to go off this thought train. Now, what this boils down to is Howie Roseman being a very forward-thinking GM and noticing the next bubble in the NFL, and this was reflected in his decisions to revamp the safety position with the helps of Will Parks and Jalen Mills, who will join Rodney McLeod in 2020. Now, for those of you who missed the article yesterday, I'm going to break it down for you as briefly as I can. It comes down to the fact that base defense in the modern NFL is basically a nickel package. It's a 5-man secondary, and that for the Eagles means a lot of versatility at defensive back. It's why Jim Schwartz loves getting those shorter, stouter, more versatile corners. Just look at LeBlanc and Maddox, and even some of the more recent signings such as Nickel Roby-Coleman, despite having Sidney Jones still there. There are so many shorter corners in this secondary, and it's not without reason. There's one team I want to draw your attention to, and that's the Chargers, because in 2018 they faced the Ravens in a wildcard game. A wildcard game where Lamar Jackson was coming into his own. It was very much that late season surge. No one had seen what he could do, and this offense was predicated on exploiting defenses that had no idea how to stop what Harbaugh had up his sleeve. They went out onto the field with 7 DB packages, 7 defensive backs on the field at the same time. Why? Because there's a lot of open space, and the Ravens make their pay dirt in that open space. If you're going to defend deep and leave the middle of the field open, say goodbye to Lamar Jackson and hello to the turf, which is now on fire. The Eagles play the following teams in 2020. The Niners, the Giants twice. Hey, Saquon, how you doing? The Los Angeles Rams, who, have fallen off a little bit, but their offense is still dangerous. The Baltimore Ravens and the Seattle Seahawks, just to name a few. That's basically every terrifying offense the NFL has to offer. The Eagles have a deficiency at linebacker, and it makes little to no sense spending a huge asset to upgrade it when the modern game is demanding less and less of the position. Considering that 2020 will see the Eagles face off against every lethal offense imaginable, it only makes sense to double down on DBs and disguise looks. They tried it with Bradham last year, bringing him into the B gap only to drop him into coverage, and it worked to some extent, but it'll be salivating with Will Parks. Now, because I've made this video, they'll probably draft Patrick Queen 21st overall now, but I just can't see it happening. I think Jim Schwartz, I think Howie Roseman are way too clever for this, and if they don't value the position, and one they haven't drafted in the first round since 1979, why would they when their defense needs to get more and more out of that secondary? And the signing of Darius Slay even goes a long way in fixing that as well. Whew, okay, right, now that's out of our system, it's time for bold prediction number 2. I think the Eagles are taking a quarterback in round 4 or above. If we have learned one thing in the last few years, it's that having a strong backup quarterback matters. Nick Foles not only led the Eagles to a historic Super Bowl win, but would return to the playoffs for what was nearly, a second miracle run. 1 year later, Josh McCown's spirited Seattle effort highlighted the simple fact that the Eagles can't lean on vets forever, and Carson Wentz is way past needing someone that can carry a clipboard. Nate Sudfeld rejoins the team on a tender, but this in itself is shocking. He's not been trusted outside of Week 17 scenarios to carry an offense. Instead, he's just been given handoffs at every opportunity. After seeing Josh McCown let loose for Atlanta and Seattle, the lack of confidence was clear. The Eagles missed wildly on this guy. Clayton Thorson! Da 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 da! Clayton Thorson! Da 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 da! Clayton Thorson! Last year, and I don't expect them to do so again. James Morgan is the name to watch as a quarterback who fits the mold perfectly and impressed the team at the Senior Bowl. Be prepared for Howie to pull the trigger if he's still sitting there in the heart of round 4, knowing fully well that Jeffrey Lurie wants to start drafting a quarterback every year once again. Bold prediction number 3, and we're moving on up. There's been lots of speculation about what the Eagles will do at pick 21. Will they move up? Will they trade back? Is it going to be a wide receiver? At this stage, it's a total shot in the dark, but if there is one thing we can take from Howie's press conference last week, it's that the word trade was referenced probably more times than he realised. Roseman is the ultimate opportunist, and all it takes is one extra bounce of the ball to change the outcome of a game. Sorry, Sixers fans. If Howie smells an opportunity, he'll go all in on maximising the value it presents. And I think trading up into the teens for a receiver is absolutely viable and worthy of inclusion in an article full of bold predictions. Number 4, we're saying a surprise goodbye. While we're talking about trades, the Eagles are going to have to part ways with more than just picks if they do intend to move up. Rasul Douglas is a name that has been shopped for some time now, and as we've reported, there has been some notable interest from around the league and an offer made by San Francisco, but he's not the player we're bidding goodbye to here, at least in this scenario. Instead, it's Derek Barnett. If the Eagles are going to move inside the top 15, they'll need more than a rotational cornerback and some picks to swing the deal. We know how he doesn't like giving up draft capital, and when it comes to players, there aren't many with more intrinsic value than the former Tennessee edge rusher. Barnett is still, believe it or not, only 23 years old and going into year number 4 of his rookie deal. The Eagles are yet to pick up a 5th-year option, and he's become a relatively polarizing player to talk about. A 6.5 sack season really doesn't paint the picture of a former first-round pick who has been underwhelming in his overall development. Barnett could be seen as an instant starter around the league, and with an upside to lock in a 5th-year option into place, I think the Eagles may be willing to hit reset on finding a future star on the edge instead. And finally, building from the ball out, this has been a mantra for Howie and the Eagles ever since the inception of the Doug Peterson era, and it won't change now. Jason Kelce needs a successor, and with Vaitai now in Detroit, the Eagles also need depth at tackle. I'm predicting a minimum of 2 offensive line picks out of the 8 selections currently held by the team. But what are your bold predictions for the NFL draft? Who do you think the Eagles are going to come away with, maybe bid goodbye to, or maybe even assets they trade up to attain? Perhaps it's a player even outside of this draft class, but I need you to let us know down in the comments. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at PhiladelphiaSN and myself at Liam Jenkins PSN. I will see you on Thursday night for our NFL Draft livestream extravaganza.